Okay. There you go.
So, on short notice, Mahoney.
Yeah, I know, my fault.
This was one of the 4 docs that I was looking at and decided on it at the last minute there. David Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet. It was released on October 4th of 2020 by Netflix. Of course, it was a BBC production. It is, as Attenborough said, it's his, what's he call it?
Like a life statement.
Yeah, like that. A witness statement.
Yeah.
Called it his witness statement of his 60 plus years touring the world. This is a man who has seen more of the natural world than any other. It was not about, in his words, saving the planet, but about saving ourselves. And I think that's pointed out very well in the movie. The worldwide gross for the movie, sans Netflix rentals, was 627,000. I couldn't find any cost info other than I did find that BBC's Planet Earth series, which we just talked about, cost $2.2 million per episode. So it wasn't a moneymaker, probably never destined to be, but it had an important message. Again, I know it's not a movie like many that we see, although it's probably like many of the documentaries that I proposed. I thought it was incredible, and I really got a kick out of the kind of the moving metric wheels that showed the loss of wildlife, the rise in temperature, things like that. I mean, it was very disconcerting to see what's happened in the course of 60 years. And this is a guy that's 20 years older than we are, 25 years older than we are. And we've seen a lot, but we haven't seen it on 7 continents like he has, and the changes as he went through to show us, like the maps that Bill and Terry have, with the expanding population and the warming that's gone on. Just incredible. I thought most of it was made with archival footage, which I'm sure dropped the cost probably below what had already been paid for the Planet Earth series. But nevertheless, I'm sure it was much more expensive than what it generated in revenues from its limited theatrical release. It had several nominations among various awarding organizations like BAFTA and things like that, mostly for outstanding cinematography. Again, old news because it's generally archival footage. I don't think there was very much new footage in it. He just revisited places that he'd been since he was 20 years old. That category, it won some daytime Emmys, and that's where early on Netflix movies and things like streamer movies, that's where they had to enter, was in the daytime Emmy category. And again, outstanding cinematography and things like that. Even best score in the widely acclaimed Dublin Film Critics International Film Association. But I enjoyed it. It was nice that it set the tone with what's occurred and as I said, the wheel that kept turning the wrong way. But then he brought the last 20 minutes of the movie into what we can do to change things and increase a plant-based diet and a variety of other things to actually have our grandkids be able to live here. So with that, what'd you guys think?
You know, it reminded me of what happened with the pandemic and how various ecosystems sprung back to life. Like you could see
Right.
dolphins in Venice and stuff like this because people weren't going around trashing everything all the time.
Mhm.
So his thoughts about rejuvenation of systems, where they outlawed fishing in a certain area and the fish population bloomed and it even spilled over into the approved areas. That was very encouraging. And I thought he did a great job of setting you up for, fear and angst. And then he came in with a very positive message. So I really liked how he approached this.
The term they use is rewilding, and in order to increase the natural history diversity that we enjoy. Anyone?
I'm sorry, Mike. When I'm trying to find something to watch, I will very often go to documentaries, and I will very often go to nature documentaries. And if I see anything with Attenborough, I watch it. I've watched a ton of his stuff, so I was very glad to see this pick. As far as at the end when he proposes some solutions to the problems, unfortunately, what I think about is, okay, what are the chances? What are the chances that you're going to be able to fight the fishing industry lobby? What are the chances that you're going to fight the fossil fuel lobby? All the ideas are sound, but what comes to mind with me, or the skepticism I has, is that money. Anytime when you get money involved, that's where you got a problem. I hope to God that common sense prevails, and maybe the younger generations will win out on this. But what's the screenshot I have? I thought that was a really compelling part at the end of the movie, where basically what he said was, Mother Nature's, she'll come back. Okay.
Mhm.
We may not be around for it.
Right.
It might be another 100 million years before you got people walking around again.
Yeah.
Mother
That was
Nature's going to be
classic.
fine.
That was
It's just
great.
humans may not make the cut. So, but fantastic documentary.
Whatever that town is in Russia next to um,
Chernobyl. Yeah.
Chernobyl. Yeah. I mean, trees growing through everything. Yeah.
Wildlife that they said had disappeared from other parts of Eastern Europe or whatever. They're running, you can see foxes and whatever running around there. They were doing well, but
we may not be there.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Didn't somebody say something like the species that couldn't save themselves because it wasn't cost effective?
It's true. I don't know if they said it.
There's a book called After Us, which talks about how the world can spring back very quickly when we're absent.
Yeah, I think there's a Kurt Vonnegut line that says we could have saved the planet, but we were just too damn cheap.
Yeah.
What Terry said before is also Kurt Vonnegut, who said we'll be the first civilization to disappear because it wasn't cost effective.
Yeah, that's Kurt.
Does Attenborough, does he have like an association that helps to implement these plans? I was thinking that'd be something to look into.
I think all he's got is peer pressure. I
For
mean,
me.
he has a great audience, and he's somebody to lead it, but he's also 94 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know who takes that mantle when he's done.
Yeah, because Jeff was talking about the fishing areas. What did he say? A third, if we could preserve a third of the coastlines, we could do that. It's like, well, why aren't we doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Money. Lobbyists.
Sure.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
It happens on a smaller level up here around the Puget Sound, and they're trying to save salmon. And they have They have advisory boards. They have public comment, and they're bringing back salmon to places that it wasn't there for quite a while. Little streams had to be rerouted so they had stuck, you know, and trying to get back to where they were born and all that. So it can happen.
Excuse me for a minute.
I think in Washington, they're probably as ecologically conscious as any place I've ever seen. And they're all the time looking for people to be on boards. I've thought about that myself, you know. We need volunteers. We need people to be on these boards to make decisions about what we're going to do next.
Well, one of the examples, one of the examples he used, Mike, was how Costa Rica is reforesting so much. And the side that he didn't mention, or I didn't hear it, was that tourism is probably Costa Rica's biggest source of revenue. And that's what people come to see. They come to see the jungle, the waterfalls, wildlife. So it seems like you have to do things in conjunction with the revenue side of things, give people an alternative in order to make money, because it also showed how damn many of us there are out there, 8 billion people and growing.
It said that the government gave the landowners, grants or some kind of benefit to reforest it.
Mm-hmm.
What is the deal with the palm oil, the palm oil trees? What is, pardon my ignorance, but I mean, you know how a lot of the forest's been chopped down and replaced with, what are those used for?
Palm oil is in just about everything.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Look at
in
the
almost
ingredients
everything.
On anything. It'll be in
Candy
there.
bars to hand cream to drugs,
Right.
pharmaceutical drugs.
I guess I don't read the ingredients.
I've also heard that they cut
Pretty
down
small.
they cut down a lot of rainforest for cattle raising for like McDonald's and stuff. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. But.
Yeah, that's another area where I'm a little skeptical about most of the planet going to a plant-based diet. I don't see that happening anytime.
No.
Not in this country anyway. And I'm probably guilty of that myself to some extent.
Although, have you ever tried the Beyond Burgers?
Nope.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Now
you
I am a
should.
carnivore. Pete, I'm a carnivore. I'm from Chicago. There's nothing better than a good steak to me. But I said for the hell of it, I would try a Beyond Burger. And it was really good. And it wasn't just passable. It actually tasted like, smelled like, and I like things like medium rare. I don't like to cook it really well. And it came medium rare and it was juicy. I'm telling you, I don't know, but it was really good. And I was expecting not to like it at all. And I was shocked that I did. It was much, much, much better than I thought, and tasted like a hamburger, a good hamburger. So just FYI, you might want to try it the next
What
time.
do
I
they
don't,
mean
there's a bunch of different ones and I don't know the difference. But I think it was Beyond Burgers, the one that they took yeah, it's the chemical that causes the smell and the taste of meat. And they use that in it. And that's why it does smell like and taste like, it was really good. I'm again shocked. So you might want to try it.
Well, let me show of hands. Other than Donna, who else has tried a Beyond Burger, Beyond Meat?
Hey, see? What'd you
What?
guys think?
I like Impossible Burger a little bit better.
Well, it might be, I'm just not sure, Mike, what it was. All I know,
let me
it was
tell you
a
this.
plant-based burger. That's all I
Right.
know.
I found Impossible Sausage. Okay.
What's it
because
called? Impossible?
They make Impossible Sausage.
Oh,
My dogs sleep on the couch and do nothing in the morning. But when I put some Impossible Sausage on the stove, they're in the kitchen within
Wow.
like 30 seconds. And they smell it when, it's like the cartoon where, a little stream of vapor comes through and then they come walking in with their noses in the air trying to figure out where it came from. It's pretty
I had
tasty.
mine at a restaurant. So again, I don't know what, what they were using.
I
I've
used to
never
make
done it at
vegetarian.
home yet.
I used to make vegetarian chili. And, my wife is a meat eater and she was like, yeah, this is okay. But then I did it with Impossible sausage and then put some, chili seasoning on it and stuff. And you would not know.
Really? Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to do that.
And Terry, you've lived this, so nothing new for you.
Yeah. Nothing new on that.
It just makes it a little slower. That's all. It doesn't, I'll leave it that.
I actually have had one or two of those things that it was all right. It's pretty interesting. It was just very expensive, so it wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
I hear if you put palm oil on them, it really brings out.
Slice right down.
Yeah.
Impossible burgers are very thick when you buy them. And what my trick is you cut them in half and then it's a regular sized burger. It makes it a lot easier, faster to cook and all that kind of stuff.
And half the price.
Well, yeah, it spreads it out a little bit longer.
So he mentioned something that I'd heard about, and I guess it's kind of a validation of that there's possibly a point in our population that we're going to level off and not keep continuing. I heard it was 9 billion, and what did he say?
He said that.
11 billion by 2100 if something's not done. But I had heard 9 billion, and I was wondering, well, how is that possible? So, but they used Japan as an example of a place that had leveled off, within their country, it had leveled off. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I'm hopeful that maybe that is the case. Maybe there's a certain number of us and it gets to be that point and everyone's having a relatively decent life. I don't know how long that will be, but yeah, I was glad to
I
hear
think
that.
China, isn't China nearing zero growth too?
I don't know.
I thought that they said that this year they had a year of reverse growth. That was the first time
Really?
ever. I mean, their population is way screwed up. They've got so many old people, and they have very few young people. I mean, relatively speaking, they're they won't have the young people to support the old people.
They have a lot more males than females too.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's, truthfully, it's just like us. I mean, we collect, we don't pay into. Thank you, Pete. Jeff. Thank you for paying into Social Security. But at some point, that's what funds the retirement folks. And it's true whether it's a socialist system or our socialist system, but you have to have head count at the bottom end to
Right.
pay for the old folks and their health care. I thought it was interesting when he talked about 70% of the world's bird population is domesticated. So it's
And it's chicken
chickens,
mostly.
chicken and turkeys and
Mhm. Oh.
I liked his segments too on energy dependence, solar. I think he went into quite a bit about solar, didn't he?
mm-hmm.
Where he was like,
Mhm.
I know I'm hoping to do that myself. So makes sense to me as a part of his solution is getting off of this dependence on oil and those things. I thought that was interesting.
Well, at least where it's the major source. I mean, I know here in Springfield, the utility company has like 35% gaining on 40 coming from renewables. And that's a big change from where it was 10 years ago, 15
Yeah.
years ago. But it's going to take a lot more people doing that, including individual homeowners like you, Bill, if that's something you're going to do. But they have the scale to have much more drastic reaction to that.
The state of Washington has outlawed fossil run cars and trucks after 2035.
Mm-hmm.
All new vehicles in the state after 2035 have to be electric or hybrids.
Ah,
People don't like it. The Dealers Association hates it. They want to keep cranking out, gas, gasoline cars or whatever, but it's just, that's the way you get it done is you have to say, we're not going to do this anymore.
no more.
And then,
But isn't
when you
the,
drive I-5 around here, if they could just get rid of half of the vehicles on I-5, they would save a ton of money.
right.
And they're trying to do that. They're building trains, they're building subways, they're building all this stuff. And it'll all be done around 2030, 2040. There'd be no reason why you would have to get in a car and go anywhere or park.
I mean, that's the problem with the whole West Coast is the I-5 corridor to the ocean. I mean, it's just crazy, whether it's LA or San Francisco or Portland or Seattle. I mean, all the traffic is I-5 west. Not all, but
Anybody have an electric car? Here, we need Whitaker. Where's Whitaker when we need him?
yeah, he's got
Yeah. I'm
was
looking
wa-
at them. I just haven't, I was actually looking today and see if, is there still a rebate? Still get a rebate on an electric car? Or not?
not generally.
I don't know.
Not generally? I think it's a
No,
tax
I
credit.
have some friends that do it. They've gone. They get the Leafs, and they actively look for these rebates, and I think they get them. I think they just did it a while ago, but I haven't talked to them about this one. But no, I think that's still a big deal, and it's a big deal for what I'm thinking about doing too, with putting solar panels on the house and things like that. I mean, like you can recover a third of your costs through these systems cost like $30,000 and you can recover 10. I've talked to several people who've done that.
Mhm. Yeah, I've got solar, but it's mostly for the pool, quite frankly. That we can heat the pool without using electric, but yeah, it doesn't do that. We don't really need heat here though. So. It's just the jacuzzi or the pool. That's the only thing. But anyway, but we do have them. Yeah.
We did geothermal in our house, which
You did?
saves a ton of money. It costs up front, but once you're like 7 years out, you start to conserve money. So the whole house is electric essentially, and it's not very expensive. It's also an insulated concrete farmhouse, which means that the R value on the outside wall is about 50. So it's pretty snug.
So you built it new, did you, Jeff? And
Yeah, we do have an atrium, which leaks energy, but most of the house is really good.
And so when they did this geothermal, did they go down into the earth?
Yeah, like 150 feet.
Wow.
Wow.
They sank loops of piping, and then the fluid runs through those and exchanges heat down deep, or picks up heat or gets rid of it.
And does that create electricity, or is that for?
No,
That's for
it
heating
just
and
doesn't
cooling.
use very much. Yeah, it's just for heating and cooling. Yeah.
You just don't have to warm the air from zero.
Right.
Is it what made you decide to do that? And was it expensive?
Yeah, it's relatively expensive up front, but you recoup that cost after a few years. You get back to even, and then it's positive for you compared to what it would cost to heat and cool your house at a given size and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And with increasing energy rates.
Right. So if we put solar on our house to power the geothermal, that would really be sort of the best I could do, I think.
Yeah.
But it's expensive, and then you got to worry about maintaining the panels and all that stuff. It isn't completely simple, I don't think.
You got to have a relatively good amount of sun, I would think, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, up here in Washington, we get rain all the time. It's cloudy a lot, but there's a lot of solar panels.
We would
Yeah.
have to deforest our lot in order to put up the solar panels.
No rewilding there. All right. Mahoney, did you get a chance to see it? Care for it?
Yeah, I did, finally, and, the, the thing I take away from it, is, docs and, presentations like this always, reinforce how frustrating it is to live in the part of the world where I live, and Pete and Bill and, you, Mike, Jeff, we live in a state or a region that is damn near openly hostile to alternative energy. There's some lip service to it, and and all that, but every time somebody tries to make a serious play on it, it seems like Ameren and Evergy, excuse me, Spire and the gas company here always have 10,000 ways, reasons, and justifications to push back on it. And it doesn't feel like there's any critical mass in this part of America to truly go forward with it.
That's also true here, obviously in Florida, because we've got the crazy man that, but we have red tide here, and red tide is horrible. You can't even go out. You can't breathe. The fish are dead, and it's this whole algae growth that's coming from a company that's in northern Florida that's dumping, and everybody knows who's doing it, but nobody does anything against them. And I mean, they say they do, but it keeps coming back. It was just here last week where people literally cannot walk on the beach because they're coughing and gagging, and then of course the stench from the dead fish. We also have another huge it's a seaweed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's coming too. I mean, and it's crazy. It is crazy here because when you say anything, the word woke is is just put in front of everything that people don't want. I mean, that this group doesn't want done. They just say this is woke and this is woke, and nobody wants woke in Florida. So nothing ever gets done. It's very, very, very frustrating.
Do you think, any of you, that there's not a coalition of solar or wind energy providers except the energy companies? I mean, I think lobbying plays more into this than anything else. Politician donations, and they don't, I mean, it comes under this now hated banner almost as much as woke of ESG, which is now the rallying cry. But there are tons of little solar places that are hooked up to small cities and large cities, but there's not a movement like there is from the gas companies and the electric companies and things like that to fuel political donations. I don't think.
Right.
And so, Mahoney, like you were saying, I have trouble seeing it changing as well, because that's where everything gets greased.
Yeah.
So, in the face of all of these obstacles and all this resistance, intransigence for doing the right thing, what sort of catastrophe and disaster is it going to take to make us change from crisis? Realizing that, fuck, we fucked up now. Now what do we do? If you're going to get to that, I mean, obviously that's where we're headed, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's usually what
so bad that other people give in. It's like, okay, I guess you're right. But
that's what it takes.
I don't see it happening. I think we're going to see Chernobyl. I really do. I'm just, that thing, Mike, you're talking about where he keeps changing like the carbon output and how much of the land is forest, that he kept changing the population. I kept looking, and then he was projecting forward, like, if we don't do anything, here's what's going to be in 2020, 2030. I was looking, okay, will I be around then? I definitely don't want to be around in 2050 for sure. And I don't see it happening. I really don't. For the reasons that Mike said, Mahoney said, because of the power of the lobbyists. I just don't see it happening. I think we're screwed. I really do.
What kind of life or what kind of world are we leading for Jeff Arthur?
Young Jeff Arthur.
Yeah.
Someone who comes up with the -3 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one.
No, I think that there's going to be an apocalyptic moment along the lines of what happened in Texas a few years ago when their power when their power grid collapsed in the middle of a deep freeze. I think there's going to be a environmental apocalypse that will shake people to doing something or trying to do something, and it may be too late by the time people come to that realization.
I think that, and I think coastal flooding will be part of that apocalypse.
What's happening with the ice caps?
When downtown Miami floods.
Miami's already pumping water out.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time.
It's going to be someplace like New Orleans or Miami, maybe even Manhattan. I mean, Manhattan is right there.
There you go. New Orleans is already in a situation where poor people have to put up with it. You know what I mean? They don't care if the levee breaks. They don't care if they're hanging around all those oil refineries or whatever. But in Manhattan, it'll make a difference there, I think. They start losing portions of it and have to do
all
something.
right. That's exactly the kind of discussion I wanted to open up. You got a lot of possibilities here for what disasters are going to take.
Well,
let's start a lottery. Let's start a pot right now.
Yeah.
Which one is it going to be?
I propose with the elevation of the population that a plague or a disease process has a strong possibility. We witnessed that up to a very small degree. And that just wiping out half the population of the earth would go a long way towards fixing a lot of these things. It's a horrible thought.
Well played.
It is, yeah.
Well, I would like
always have World War III too, with Russia and China getting together. And
I would like to point out, however, that right at the beginning, okay, how old is the Earth? They say 4.5 billion. Okay,
something like that.
There's been 5 recorded extinction events, which we will not be able to miss that.
Right.
1 every billion years. Who knows when it'll be, but asteroid, meteor, whatever slammed into the Earth.
Well, Terry, last week the Earth was only 6,000 years old.
That's right.
How soon did those people die out?
Well, we did kind of have a plague already, Jeff, and it's
right.
killed.
Yeah, but nothing like nothing like what if it a real like if
Right.
that had been
Take
the
down half the
the,
population.
Like
the
the
Spanish flu
flu,
style,
right?
a
Yeah.
lot more people would have been dead.
That only took out 6 million people. That's nothing.
Well, we have more healthcare resources now, but they're finite. If you get a real thing going, it's going to exceed the capacity of the healthcare system to save people.
Which it almost did. This last go
Yeah.
around.
They were
Yeah.
Yeah, and the next one will even hit the less developed parts of the world harder. The Western world will have enough to sustain itself, but parts of the world that are not as developed, that are not first world, could see staggering losses.
Yeah, kind of the experience I had watching this movie, like it was, it was really beautiful. All the footage of the animals, about the birds and the fish. Oh my God, it's just totally beautiful. And then the next thing, I'm horrified. It was like the most beautiful freaking horror movie, that I've ever seen. But he's going on and on about how, fucked up we just might be. It's like, oh my God, look at this. It's so beautiful, but yet it's horrifying.
Yeah, like the white coral. The
Oh,
white
what?
coral that was the white coral.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
So sad.
But what's so amazing is that it will still be here. We
Oh,
won't.
yeah, it'll recover.
We won't. Yeah.
That's my point. And you asked what's the next catastrophic event? It's what's going on now, taken out to its finality, and we won't be here.
Right.
Oh,
That's the end game that I see. I just want to
Yeah.
repeat, I do not want to be around in 2050. I just want to put the record.
Okay, Jeff Arthur, it's all you, buddy.
That'd be a miracle if I was still around in 2015.
Jeff, turn the lights out when you leave.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, guys. It sounded like you enjoyed it. And it was a different piece to look at.
It was
I don't
good.
know,
yeah. It was
I don't know if
time well
Mahoney's
spent.
ready for next week or if we need to.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. And here's the deal. I was not feeling well last Monday night and inadvertently fell asleep like 6:15 or something like that, and slept through the meeting. So I apologize for that. And so I'm going to go back to the pick that I had ready for this past week. It's and it's very different than what Mattson has proposed for this week, and quite lighthearted. This is the old Irish American war horse movie, The Quiet Man, with John.
Oh, my favorite.
Anyway, it's John Wayne. It's Maureen O'Hara. It's set. It's the story of a boxer, an American boxer in the 1920s or early 30s, who gives up his trade in America, returns home to Ireland, wants to buy the old country's the old family farm, and hilarity and drama ensue. And it's typecast. It's full of Irish stereotypes. John Ford won an Oscar for it, for directing it, and the cinematographer for it won an Oscar for its for the way it's shot, and it's a good yarn that is a favorite of Irish Americans across the country during the month of March. It's a funny tale. It is misogynistic as hell in 2023.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Um,
But it's
but-
good.
but it's a fun movie. So it'll be the Quiet Man, and right off the bat, I don't have the links for it, but it's easily accessible.
Shows it's on Prime.
Okay, good. That's such a good one.
I haven't seen it.
You,
So I look
you
forward to it.
haven't, Bill?
No, I haven't. I
I
look
think
forward to
between
it.
Mahoney and I have probably seen
Really?
it collectively 172 times.
Yeah, me too. I think I watch it right around St. Patrick's Day every year.
What
We
do
actually
they showed it
actually
at the
have-
Irish Center on the weekends or something?
We
I think
actually we did bring it in, geez, probably been 20 years ago now, and put it on a big screen over in KCK, which is really the way to see any movie like that, especially something that gets high marks for its cinematography. And the movie is just shot really well. It was shot with care, and on a big screen, it just jumps out.
Nice.
Fun.
Speaking of Irish things, I watched it's on Disney Plus. I think it's a special it's a concert film with U2 and David Letterman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
just came out.
I heard about this today.
Yeah, yeah. And two of the band members couldn't be there, but Bono and The Edge, in a relatively small theater in Dublin, put on this concert, and they build into this thing a bunch of clips of them early in their career, how they developed and how they write songs, and then of course Letterman is the typical goofy college kid kind of mentality that comes in and kind of makes it fun. There's obviously an affection between him and the band. I think that he was one of their first exposures in the United States, so it was a fun thing to watch.
What was it
And very
called?
Irish. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is, but it's U2 and David Letterman.
That'll
Yeah,
be fun.
It's relatively new. I think it's just out.
You know, I've been to Ireland a few times, and in Dublin, Flanagan's, right in Dublin, is where Bono goes all the time for lunch. He's there almost every day there for lunch. No, and I was there, and he was having lunch, and nobody pays any attention. You know, he's at the bar eating whatever. What I liked about Ireland is that they don't go gaga over celebrities, because there's quite a few that are in Ireland, and if you know who they are, you'll see them around, but nobody. And that's what was so fun. It was just fun being in a bar, and there he was, and wasn't any big deal, but it was just great, being there while having lunch while he's having lunch. So yeah, that'll be. I'm looking forward to seeing that, because that sounds really good.
It shows that it's called Bono and the Edge, A Sort of Homecoming with David Letterman.
Right.
And on Disney Plus?
Disney Plus, yeah.
Perfect.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob Iger strikes.
I had no idea that Letterman was early promoter of them in the States. Not that surprised, but I didn't know that.
Huh, I didn't either.
I watched I watched a 3-part documentary, staying in the documentary realm, last week, called MH370, the plane that disappeared. It's about the Malaysian Airlines flight that went down in 2014, and all the various theories about what happened and why, and they still don't know why this plane went down. And the theories as to how it happened are far and wide. 3 hours or like I say, it's 3 segments, not a ton of time, but it was fascinating. And it's on Netflix.
The comedian Kathleen Madigan does a whole hour on this.
On that documentary.
Yes. She talks about
She's so funny.
She got obsessed with it, and she said her brother won't talk to her if she calls and wants to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, she is so good. So I don't know if you guys would like this, or I thought it was phenomenal, but it's a film of a play. So it's a straight one-man show. And I can't remember the actor, the one that played Edward R. Murrow. You guys probably know who I'm talking about, and David, I can't remember his name. Yes, thank you. Yes. Anyway, one-man show, true story. It's called Remember This. and it's about an Austrian a boy at the time between 18 and 28. He becomes like a documentary person to bring information about what was happening in Austria and the Nazis, and bringing in and bring Great Britain and the United States. So he's a diplomat, and he's basically trying not to be emotional about it. And it's just so, it is so good. And there's no set. It is a table and chairs and him. And to me, it was incredibly powerful. It's called Remember This, and I think it's on PBS, if I'm not mistaken. Either Great Performances or, yeah, I think it's Great Performances.
And it's
That
called
one.
Remember This.
Yes, Remember This. And it's just, I thought it's straight theater, but I thought it was really good. The other one that someone had mentioned, and I don't remember who said, it might have been you. If I say Mike, I'll be
You'll
true
be half
for all you
right.
guys.
Been
What
going
did you,
on for
Mike?
decades.
The Triangle of Sadness. Oh my God. And of course I had just gotten off a cruise. Thank you very much, whoever did tell me about it. But that was pretty funny. Yeah, it was funny and interesting ending. So I liked that. And there's a new one, I think, and I can't tell you exactly, but it starts out interesting. There's two of them. One is called The Sinner, and it has a number of episodes, but it's not too many. It might be 6 episodes. And that was really good. And the other one is, and I haven't watched it completely through yet, but it's interesting. It's called The Dark. It's won a number of awards. I think it's The Dark is on Netflix, and I think Sinner is on Hulu, I think, but I'm not positive. Anyway, those were my recommendations.
What was the one before The Sinner?
Remember This?
Yeah, I got that one. I thought there was one in between. Okay.
Triangle of
Triangle
Sadness.
Sadness.
Oh, Triangle of
Oh, yeah.
Sadness. Yeah.
Now that was
Triangle
up
of
for
Sadness.
an Emmy, wasn't it?
Awesome.
Yes.
Academy Award.
Academy Award, right? And it's a dark comedy, and oh my gosh, you know, when I was on a cruise in the North Sea, and we got one of those nights where, and I don't get seasick, not, you know, I've never gotten seasick, but boy, I could understand. There were people that it was, you know, this go up and down, and people couldn't look at the windows, and so I believe a lot of people were sick on that particular cruise. Luckily, I wasn't one of them, but okay.
Bill,
But
didn't you
that was
mention
funny.
you'd seen that?
Yeah, I'd seen it. I didn't have shared Donna's thrill for it.
That's what I was thinking.
It was, I thought it was,
Pretty disgusting.
especially
Yeah.
the first 2/3 of it, I thought was pretty raunchy. But you know, it was another movie we had watched earlier. The same director, the Avalanche movie.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Major or
Yeah, that's it. The same director, and I liked that film quite a bit. But I could see how the irony was similar in what he was doing. So I mean, I can remember texting a friend the night I watched Triangle of Sadness, and I said, "This movie is terrible." And then they started the third part, and I thought, well, it did get a little more interesting at the end, I thought.
Yeah.
So I would
watching.
completely disregard it. Go ahead, Jeff.
I started watching a series called Daisy Jones and the Six, which is loosely based on Fleetwood Mac, and it's pretty thin, but it's entertaining. So I kind of enjoyed it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I've been watching that one, Jeff.
There's some decent music.
That
It's
got brought up
interesting.
last week, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It got brought up. I recommended it a while back, but
Ah,
I'm also watching Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
I just started the third season of that. And I watched the first episode of Lucky Hank, which is Bob Odenkirk. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm going to like that one or not yet, but he's just one of those people that whatever he's in, I usually watch it.
Yeah, I do too. He's really good.
What's it
And
called?
it's called
Lucky Hank. I think they've just delivered 2 episodes, haven't they?
So far, just one.
Just one.
Just
I think
the
there's 2 in
pilot.
the can.
Yeah, but then they start charging for them. It's on AMC Plus, which I don't have. I have Hulu, which is connected to it, but they don't carry this. So
Well, that's where he finished up with
Better Call
Better Call
Saul.
Saul.
yeah, Saul. I
And then
watched
I don't know if anybody has been watching Perry Mason, but that's into its second season from last year. That's pretty good with what's his name, Matthew Reese, that used to play in the Americans.
I don't know. If it's not Raymond Burr, I don't know if I can take it.
Well, yeah, and it's completely different premise too. I mean, he's like, what is it, like early in Perry Mason's career? And
Yeah, it's like 1925. There's all these
He's-
Oh,
1925 things. I don't know why, but
so he's walking now.
yeah.
yeah, he's
Mm.
walking and he's more like an investigator or something.
Huh.
I
about-
finished up 1923, which was a prequel to Yellowstone,
Yeah.
but there's like 8 or 9 episodes, and then there's another season coming again. So I'm not really finished. I thought I was done with it, but that was pretty good. Helen Mirren and
Oh, yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
great. Whoever cast those 2 people together, that was fantastic. They really play off each other.
Mm.
And then I also finished Your Honor. This was
Oh, yeah.
it came out last year, and I watched one season of it, and the second season came out this year. And together, those make a phenomenal series. I don't know if anybody
That's
remembers
Bryan
it.
That
Cranston,
was-
isn't it?
Right. Cranston
Yeah.
plays a judge who tries to protect his son who killed someone in a hit and run accident. And
Yeah.
in the first, well, I don't want to tell you how it all goes, but anyway, it was, I would consider it one of the best series I've seen, short of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. He's such a wonderful actor.
He is,
That
and it's all
boy.
about New Orleans
Jeff,
too.
did you say
Mike.
Perry Mason was a series?
Yes,
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're,
Guess that
they're
wasn't you.
dribbling those out too. One at a time.
Yeah.
Every Sunday you get another episode or something like that. Hate those where they don't.
That seems
Well-
to be the new way.
We're watching a lot of different stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, we are.
I've been watching Shrinking,
Oh,
which
yeah.
Mhm.
That's good.
also has Harrison Ford.
Mhm.
And what's the main character's name? Or the main character?
Jason,
Yeah,
Jason something.
Jason
Jason Segel.
Segel,
Segel.
yeah.
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 And been watching a lot of Star Trek stuff.
I love Star Trek, but I like the original. I'm a Trekkie.
Well, they got this one that's like a prequel to Star Trek.
Really?
Yeah, where it's Captain Pike.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you remember how
He-
the original
Zebulon. Yeah.
huh? Pike is
Zebulon Pike.
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of interesting to see him and Spock. They show a young Spock. I like it pretty well. I mean, it seems pretty well done.
And what's it
Uh,
called?
Disney Plus.
Well, there's Picard is the kind of the one that they're showing, but Strange New Worlds, I think, is the prequel to the original Star Trek.
Was Pike the one that invented the hyperspace drive?
No, that's
I don't think he invented it. He was the first captain before Kirk.
the
Okay,
very
there was one of
the
the
very
movies.
the very first episode of Star Trek is Spock going back to save his old captain Pike, who is trapped on another planet and in a trial for some reason.
Of
And
course he was.
so this prequel is Pike. as the captain of the ship, and Spock is a young Vulcan dealing with his emotions that he shouldn't have.
Yeah. I do remember in the original Spock was a crazy laughing, and I mean, he was way emotional. And number one was a woman. And she was actually Gene Roddenberry's wife, and they made her number one. So she was like who Spock was in the later characters, but they decided that they weren't going to put a woman in that position, even though Gene Roddenberry wanted her there. They said no, and that's when they got Spock in, and he became the unemotional Vulcan that we all know and love. So.
And she went on to be the voice of the computer.
Well, I think yes, and she was in a few others too, I believe, because she ends up being under Uhura, but she's one of the women that's on the ship. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys can take Star Wars offline. Or anybody else got anything that I could put on the list, on the notes?
Boy,
I don't.
I've got all those things where I was trying to wrap up series, but I don't know if anybody want to get involved in one kind of late, but
I think
Yeah,
we
I
have
think
enough.
guys.
I've seen the Arkansas KU series. That's all I cared about.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, it seemed like I think Mizzou played that day too.
I think they did, except they didn't.
Hey, it's Japan and Mexico in the World Baseball Classic Finals. tonight.
WBC, yeah.
Oh, is it over?
No, it's the Japan and Mexico tonight on FX, Fox Sports 1, and then
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know who's got the final tomorrow night. It'll be
Tomorrow night is the final.
Yeah, it'll be the winner of this game this evening against the U.S.
Oh,
Oh.
Let's see how many other major league players they can put out of business for
who
the
picks
year.
next week before we break? Would it be Pete?
I
No.
believe I do. Yeah.
No, I'm picking because I
No, I
missed
mean,
my turn.
next,
Well,
The
no,
week,
I-
the week
no,
after.
next week I'll pick.
okay.
The week following, yeah.
The week
see what
following.
we're- see
Yeah,
what we're
Pete's
saying,
on deck.
Lonnie?
This week is the quiet man.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
All right.
I just want to get the who's going to be next because
Right.
when you weren't here, Mahoney, it was handy to say you're it, but it's better to kind of have some kind of plan B.
Yeah. We got one. All right, man.
All right.
I'm out of here.
Okay,
All right.
guys.
Good, guys.
All right, you
Thanks, everybody.
guys.
Real
Take
good.
care.
Good movie. Thanks.
Have a good week.
Good one.
Yeah, it was.